So, should we tell everybody that this is our last show?
Well, if you want to break the news first.
I think I will. Our tens of listeners are going to be devastated. This is our last show. No. April Fool. Welcome to the Ugly Truth. It's episode 611. Yes, it's April Fool's Day. Okay, so last week when we were recording and you said we should talk in accents, I think it was when we were doing our Top Chef episode. Yes. I am not kidding you, Stephanie.
Just so bad at it.
I said that we should try to talk in accents the entire time as the April Fool's joke.
No one would want to listen to that.
But not only that, but I'm like, get out of my brain. How did you know that I was going to say we talk in accents today? How crazy is that? I was so like, God, we are so related.
So like,
I'm just like, welcome to the Ugly Truth. Today we will talk about seasonal allergies.
Don't you know?
What?
Don't you know? Like
that's
Shrek, Irish.
That's Irish?
Oh. I couldn't talk in it.
There are certain things that I can say in different accents. I don't think I could speak fluently in an accent forever.
Yeah.
Once you get going, you kind of can do it. Like there's this
some actresses are really bad at it.
So there's a scene in Family Guy where there is a person from Minnesota having sex above someone in an apartment.
Oh my God.
And I can mimic that accent really, really good. And Joe's like, do the Minnesotan accent. I'm like, oh crap. Oh God. Oh crap. That's it. That's the extent of my Minnesotan accent.
Yeah. Well, that's because you're mimicking a scene that you've seen or heard many times.
I couldn't speak like that. Like if you ever watch the movie Fargo, they are.
Oh my God. That movie is so damn funny.
It's amazing.
Very convincing.
Yes. Very convincing. They're very convincing. Yeah. I can do some English accents. I don't, but I tend to switch because there's a couple. There's like the quote unquote low class Cockneyed accent. And then there's the Royal English accent. There's also the Mary Poppins.
Right.
There's so many.
There are different because if you're from Manchester, that is like the kind of the ghetto kind of hippy dippy,
okay.
But if you're from like England, like London, that's like you said, like the rich kind of elite.
It's funny because when we were in London, you don't even hear it after a while. You don't even hear the English accent after.
Really?
No. I mean, very quickly, you just be like, oh, this is just how they talk. Huh. And I don't know if that's just from our, ancestry of just coming from there. So you don't really think about it. Or maybe
it's because it's all you hear when you're there. And after a while, you're just kind of become immune to it. Because I have a friend, Jerry and I have a friend who's English and so English. And it's just a joke the whole time. Not a joke like, haha, you're a jerk. But we love it.
Yeah.
And it's all I hear.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we didn't really have a whole lot. I mean, there were a couple of times, I will say, especially when we were in the pubs, where I didn't understand what they were saying. I was like, what was that? Because they kind of mumble if they're not, speaking eloquently as if they were from the Queen's chambers. Right? It's very different. And same, if we're talking too fast, they're like, I don't know what you're saying. Can you repeat that? Because Americans talk very quickly. Yeah. Anyway, so April Fools, we're not talking in accents. We can't do it. I could practice for weeks and I'd still not be able to get through it.
No, me either.
It wouldn't work.
It would take far too much energy for me to devote at this very moment.
I'd be like, how long before we just go, Stephanie, I don't want to do it anymore.
It'll be like a minute.
Are you done? Me too. Okay, good. Anyway, April Fools. So I was thinking about how many tricks and pranks we used to pull on each other.
Oh, true.
And we didn't even just do April Fools, but we loved April Fools as kids. Do you remember anything about April Fools when we were kids?
Not specifically April Fools. I'm surprised we were allowed to
celebrate it.
Yes.
No, we did. Well,
we did.
I think we didn't care. We were all about the pranks.
We were home alone a lot, so we got to do things.
We did a lot of pranks. Yeah. So the most epic prank I ever pulled on you, ever, because
I'm sure I won't remember until you tell me.
Well, here's the thing. People don't know this about you, but you at least in childhood, you were not a morning person.
I'm still not.
I mean, you were aggressively angry in the morning.
Still basically true. Although being paid to be somewhere at a certain hour will cause you to fake
You'll be motivated.
Yeah.
But when you were a child, there was like, you were like a demon.
It's true.
Truly heinous. No one wanted to wake you up.
Yeah.
You were like, you're torturing me.
Oh my God.
Like constantly, shut up.
Oh my God, I was horrible.
You were bad. Anyway.
I don't think I was ever pleasant at all. I was just less horrible in the morning.
You were really just, you hated mornings more than anything so badly. And I'm not a morning person either, but you were really next level as a child. Anyway, you and I.
That would be my son.
You and I did not get along well in our prepubescent years.
We were, you know what? And looking back, we're so alike.
Yes.
Well, we were alike in personality wise, but we were very different as far as how we behaved socially.
Sure.
You were good.
You and I fought constantly.
But we did.
I got beaten more for being mean to you physically than anyone I know.
Because you were always stronger than me. And Mom was like, you can't just pummel her.
She's like, you are her older sister. You can't hit her hard. I'm like, what? I go, she's not a frail kitten. But yeah.
But I look like one.
You did. You did. Anyway, so my biggest prank, I just remember, I'm like, it's April Fool's. Stephanie's not going to remember because she doesn't care. And
no, it's not because I don't care. I don't remember anything.
No, this is when we were a child.
Everything in my childhood was basically traumatic, and I have chosen not to remember 90% of it.
When I was a child, I was thinking this. I'm like, she's not going to remember it's April 1st.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, I switched the sugar and the salt.
Oh, that was April Fool's?
Yes.
Okay.
And you came out wild hair.
Okay, well, wait.
Furious.
You have to start with this premise. So, and we've talked about this on the show before. Our mother did not allow us to eat sugar cereals, sugar anything. We didn't have chips in our house.
No, she was very naturally.
Yes. So we were either eating oatmeal.
She'd be an amazing influencer today.
Oh my God, right? Or our cereal choices were always something natural.
Cheerios or grape nuts.
Yes. So nothing had sugar on it. So that's part of the story.
Yes. So anyway, I'm like, you know what?
Because why would that matter to anyone else? Like if I'm going to eat Fruit Loops, I don't care about the sugar.
Right. You're right. So we would, because Mom just didn't see the difference, we would pile on like 7 tablespoons of sugar onto our Cheerios.
Right.
And so I knew this. And so
I'm pretty sure we were home alone this particular morning.
Probably.
And it was probably spring break because it was. I feel like it was a work week and Mom was at work and we were home.
Anyway, so I switched the sugar and the salt, and back in the old days, our mom had one of those restaurant sugar shakers. So if you wanted sugar, you had to dump it like old school, like a coffee.
Yeah. And by the way, we didn't have large flaked sea salt back then.
No. We had
everybody had
iodized
table salt.
Yeah,
that was all you had.
The girl with the umbrella.
Correct.
So I switched them all out.
So it looked just like sugar.
Yeah, of course. So I switched it all out. And you came out and you got your cereal. And I said, oh, don't you want sugar? You're like,
you're
like, oh yeah,
Stephanie's not a morning person.
No. And you're like, yeah, thanks. So I'm like, I'll get it for you.
And you're like, Mom's not here.
You legit were like, thank you. Like you were like, really?
Stupid.
And what's funny is like, you were like,
how did I not catch on?
You were not suspicious at all. And I'm like, and even in my brain, I'm like, God damn, she is not even flinching. I'm like, I'm going to get away with it. I can't believe it.
Yes.
So I handed it to him like, here, go ahead. I remember
how was I not immediately suspicious?
I don't know.
I should have been. I would have been in any other circumstances except for it was morning.
I was leaning against the counter over by the stove. I remember this so well. It was by the microwave, and I was watching you from afar because I'm like, she's going to get violent, so I've got to be like far. So I remember standing back. You took, the biggest bite.
Because Mom did care how much sugar we put on there. Yes. So when she wasn't home, it's do as much as you want.
I do remember saying that to you. You took the biggest bite. I can see the white on top of the cereal, the pile of salt, and I'm like, oh my God,
this is epic.
And you took it. You're all, oh, you were so mad.
It probably took me a minute to figure out.
It did.
What the hell?
You're like, what is this?
I mean, if anybody's ever taken a tablespoon of salt in your mouth,
especially when your brain is expecting sweet.
Well, it's hot. It's almost like salt is not.
It's like seawater.
Worse. And it was like sea paste.
You were furious. And for many, many years, you would always take and taste the sugar before you would put it in. For years.
I know.
And now, and I was dumb and told my children about it. Oh. And so whenever around this time, I'm like always,
just to make sure
I taste the sugar just in case, because they have done that to me.
Oh, they've tried.
Oh yeah, you can't
amateurs.
You can't fool this person. No, please.
To this day, watching people. My thing that I used to love to do, and I was famous for it.
What?
I scare you guys.
Oh my God.
Jump out of something.
You did.
Jump around a corner, hide in the closet. And because there's something sadistic about me. I don't know what's wrong, but the fear. I always thought, I'm going to grow up and be a serial killer because they enjoy the pain. They enjoy watching people be scared. I'm like, and I do. I'm like, but not in that,
No, not like that.
Yeah. So to this day, I will watch scare videos and laugh with my whole gut.
I remember, and I know that you don't remember a lot of our pranks, so I'm going to share them with you because I
do remember that one because it was epic.
Sure, I listed some.
Everybody in our family remembers that one.
Yeah, because it was so good. You know what? It was so good. I was just so shocked how you were just like, yeah, thanks. All right.
I didn't,
you weren't even thinking about it. And you're right. It was because I took advantage of your lack of morning love and
my
joy.
guard was down
completely. And you're like, and I know in your soul, you're like, this is the last day I trust anyone for the rest of my life. Forever.
And by the way, we weren't all that young.
No.
We were like, I don't know.
12?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
older.
Anyway, I remember, we used to pull a lot of really funny pranks, but I remember when we were really, really young, like 10 and under.
Yeah.
We 100% convinced Allison she was adopted.
All siblings do this, I found out.
Really?
Yeah, we were just talking about it at work, and they were like, yeah, we had our youngest brother. He thought he was crying. He's like, I'm adopted.
Oh,
I'm like, we did it too. We did it too.
We did, and it was because she had black hair and none of us did.
It was easy.
We had brown hair. We're like, well, Allison, look at you. God. And we're like, I saw the file. Do you want to go see the file? And she's like, no. Why were we so mean? Whatever.
No, we've talked about the things we've done on the show, and the whole killing off imagine dolls. Your childhood stuffy, the thing you drug around until it was a rag.
And your older siblings go, Matthew's dead.
And we gave him a lobotomy.
And he has to have a funeral now.
And he has a hole in the side of his head from an ink pen.
I do believe that Allison still has those dolls.
I doubt it.
You do?
I mean, she might.
I bet she has Matthew and green beans, 100%.
Yeah, there's not much left of green beans, but I think she ended up becoming an amputee. And
God, we did so much to that
She was
doll.
a chemo patient. She had no hair.
We shaved her head. Why? Whatever.
We did it to our cousins' Barbies, too.
Oh, my God. We got so much for that. We got so much trouble. Hear us laughing at our trauma. It's hilarious. Do you remember when we used to put thread at neck level on the door jams? We would take sewing thread. We would take sewing thread.
Try to cloak you with
with thread. It was so stupid. We would take thread and put it across the door jamb, and people would get. There's only one person I know that got nailed. Allison got nailed. She was the only one that didn't see it.
Oh, Allison, I'm so sorry.
We did. Oh, you know what?
Jamie was always trying to convince everyone who would listen that Allison was evil, and no one else knew it but you. You're like, you guys just don't know.
You just don't see what I see.
You don't see what always. And everybody was like, Allison?
You're like, she's so bad.
You're like, you don't know.
She's evil. She deserves it.
Jamie just hated that she got away with everything.
She did get away with so much stuff.
She really did.
Do you remember? And we went through this. It was a very short-lived period of time, but I do remember when we were all trying to get each other with buckets of water over the door. It never worked.
Oh no, yeah, it never worked.
Actually, I think it you know who ended up getting it?
Was it Mom?
Our mother. She got dunked with water. She's like, what the hell? We're like, April Fools. We did that all
celebrate April Fools.
We did that all the time.
You could do pranks on other days.
Oh God, it was so true. And then I do believe you did plastic wrap the toilets.
I think I did.
And it worked.
It did it?
Someone peed on it.
Mom, I think she made me clean it up.
I think Paula did. Because, Paula had urinary issues.
Well, she was little.
She had bladder issues. And so she was peeing constantly and stuff. She always had weird shit. Mm-hmm. And she sat on the toilet and it got everywhere. And you're right. I do believe you had
I think Mom made me. Yeah. She's like, oh, you think that's funny, do you?
We're like, well, actually, yes, I do.
Okay, good. We'll go in there and clean it up now.
Yes, we did get away with a lot of things.
No, Mom had a funny way of punishing us. It was always
It was true. It is true. Anyway, I was thinking about other pranks, and it wasn't necessarily April Fool's, but I was thinking about, I saw this happen one time at a party that I went to. Actually, you used to pretend that you would cut yourself and use ketchup.
Oh.
You did that a lot.
God.
You're like, look, I cut myself. One time Mom believed you. One time Mom believed you. After that, she never believed you again.
Yeah, I would have had.
She's like, Stephanie Denise! So much so that she's like, do you realize that you could have died? I could have called an ambulance and you would be in so much trouble. Do you know how expensive ambulances are? And then she breaks it down. You're like, it's no longer funny. I'm bored.
Yeah, well,
it was funny for a minute, Mother.
The reactions I was looking for the
You were just looking for the oh my God. Yeah, it used to scare us constantly. I think one time you were even in the car and you scared the shit out of Mom once. I remember.
With what? Fake blood? With
no,
ketchup?
you jumped out from the back seat.
Oh my God, I remember that.
You were
What is wrong with
That was
me?
such a successful prank though. That was such a good one.
I think one of the reasons why Mom would be the ultimate prize.
She was the conquest.
Yeah, because she was so serious for everybody all the time. And it was so hard to make her have fun and like relax.
I know.
So, and she was always so prepared. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like she was never, there was nothing you could do to make her flinch. She's
nothing surprised her.
Nothing surprised her, shook her.
Her famous quote, I've seen everything, I've done everything, you'll get away with nothing.
Right.
You're like,
so,
and you're all challenge accepted.
Yeah. I mean, for like life, I can just, and she's right. Most of the time nothing happened.
Yes. But then if
I got it, it was like victorious.
Yeah. I remember you got in big trouble for that scare.
I know. I could
have been in a car accident.
I literally got in trouble for everything.
Oh, I know. And then
fun will be had in this house.
God damn it.
No laughing.
One time I went to a slumber party and a mother did this to the children, which I thought was really crazy. It was candied apples.
Yep.
And
I remember.
Someone had an onion and they all looked the same. And it was my friend who got the onion and it made me mad. I was like, oh, sure, pick her. I was pissed.
Like they picked her on purpose?
Yeah. And I'm like, you guys are assholes.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. I remember that you didn't think it was funny and I didn't think it was funny
I didn't
either.
think it was funny at all, especially when a parent did it and they picked a child. They picked the child.
Of course.
Prior to. Like, they're like, no, Dina, you have this one. And I'm like,
yeah.
Man, that's
cruel.
and
looking back, I know some of these parents that we were friends with their kids. They were just diabolical.
They're assholes. And they're boomers now, so what a surprise. But it's like, I was like, you know what? You should have given it to somebody else. Like, or just let it be like no one knows. And then it's random. I mean, that to me is funnier.
Yeah, but to target somebody.
Actually, what would have been more funny is to have only one apple. And the recipe onion.
It was like Nellie Olsen and her mother.
Yes, Nellie and Mrs. Olsen.
Ew, let's pick on, Laura.
Ugh, it's exactly what it felt like too, by the way. Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking about, as we got older, some of the pranks and how they've kind of evolved in society. They're like, oh, do you really want to be mildly infuriating? Oh, do you like the new glitter?
I do. Isn't it cute? Yeah.
I glitterized our mic stands. I think they're cute. Anyway.
They are.
I don't know if we should admit this, actually, while I'm thinking about it. I don't know if we should admit this on...
She's like, we can always cut it out because I have no idea what you're going to say.
Do you remember when our mom suffered a breakup and her ex started dating someone that she really hated?
I do remember that.
And we went to her house in the middle of the night.
Oh, God, I don't know if I remember.
And we put glitter and oatmeal in her lawn.
I don't.
You don't remember?
God, no. God,
you and I.
Sure it was me and you.
It was the four of us did it. All four of us went.
Ooh.
We even dragged the baby with us.
Which would have been
Paula? Yeah. Okay, she was probably 8.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And we did it.
I don't remember.
Well, we did it, and I remember, and we were really happy about it.
Well, it was fun.
And Mom was like, approved. She approved of it.
She didn't go with us, did she?
Oh God, no.
It was, she sent you and driving, right?
Well, I was
actually now that okay, it's ringing a bell.
Yes, but it was really late, and we did it, and I was just like, and did the woman deserve it? I don't know. Maybe she was gloating, and that's why it was bad. You know what I mean?
Mom always held back most of the information, so we knew very little. So who knows?
Yeah, probably she's like,
what actually happened?
I don't understand. I'm just trying to live my life.
Who knows?
Who knows? But anyway,
hard to say.
We did that, and then I was reading something. You're like, if you really want to mildly infuriate somebody, take like 5,000 rubber bands and put it on their driveway.
Oh God.
You can't sweep them up.
No, you cannot.
You have to pick them up by hand.
Did we do it?
No, but I read that. I went, oh, that's a good prank.
That is a good prank.
I would have done that one. That's a good one. I would have done that.
I should do that to my boss's office.
Ooh.
Well, now I can't because I've said it on national air.
No, but the other one is bleach on the lawn or oatmeal. Like I said, wait, what was the other one? I wrote it down because I thought it was a really good one. It's not harmful. It's just annoying. Yeah. Oatmeal or dehydrated potato flakes in the lawn.
Oh yeah. Those would melt. But then they would turn into gooey messes. Yeah, that's true.
Especially like in the winter.
All the birds would be on your...
Oh my God. Put birdseed. Oh, you could put birdseed on someone's lawn.
I've done that to my own lawn. When I was cleaning my bird cage.
How did that go?
I had a little patch of wildflowers that grew right there.
You know what's really funny is my daughter, where she lives in her apartment complex, there's some crows that hang out because it's right by the railroad tracks.
I hate crows.
Well,
I mean, they're fine in the wild, but they are huge.
They are huge, and they're
aggressive.
They've been Mackenzie dropped peanuts or a walnut or something, and so they came down and they ate them. Mm-hmm. And now she comes out and they yell at her.
More.
Well, they're acknowledging that she gave them something. She goes, so now I just hand them out. I just give a handful of walnuts. I put them right in front of my car, and then they come down and they do it. She goes, so now they greet me every day. And I'm there, and I go, well, have they started leaving you gifts yet? Because they're notorious for
I didn't know that.
giving you gifts. And she's like, well, I haven't seen anything, no money or anything.
Mockingbird.
And I said, no. It's not going to be money initially.
He's gonna buy you a diamond mockingbird.
It's going to be something shiny. I go look for bottle caps, look for the little tabs off of a Coke can.
Things they wouldn't eat, but they see with
But it's shiny.
Yeah.
And I go, look for that stuff because you'd be surprised. And they might be going, how come she's not taking our gifts? And so you need to look for them. And then they'll know that now there's a relationship and they're trading with you. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, yeah. And there's a lot of them now. And I'm like, yeah, because they're like, hey, this chick is cool. Come.
Birds are flock animals.
And they're so smart.
Yeah, very.
Well, the crows are very smart.
Crows are, yeah.
I go, you could have attack crows. I'm like,
so did they was there anything?
She hasn't told me yet. We just talked about it.
I'm like, so curious.
I go, you need to look. She goes, well, there's nothing on my car. I go, well, it's not going to be on your car. It's going to be
close
around
by,
or
yeah.
close. So I go, but you got to look because they will do it.
How cute is that? I had no idea.
I know. I loved it. I thought it was so cute.
Yes.
Anyway.
Speaking of bugs, how did you like my video of the guy who created the bug kisser?
I loved it.
I thought you would.
It was hilarious when he kissed the worm.
That's what got me to watch it.
That was the best one. He's like, he was like, I tried to kiss spiders. I'm like, what? Stop it.
He's making a thing that kisses bugs. What would stop him?
It was so. He's like 4 lips, very satisfying. Check. It was hilarious. I loved it. Anyway, I did post it on our Instagram.
Oh, good,
so
good.
People can see it.
So that people will know what we're talking about. I mean, we are crazy, but it is cute.
It is cute. And we shared about it, and I immediately...
Jamie and I have the same love for...
Weird,
animals,
yes.
Even bugs. Basically life forms of any type.
Agreed.
We will stay away from things that creep us out or are gross, but we never really kill anything or want anything to die. With the exception of the rodents that come into your yard and your dog.
The rats.
Yeah.
We still have one.
Which still bothers me. I don't want anything dead per se, but I also don't want it living amongst me.
The remaining rat that's been flipping us off in the camera. Mm-hmm. Now that the big one is dead, this one is only early in the morning do we see it. It's not all night like the other one. Mm-hmm. So I'm
this is a smaller, smarter one.
This thing has circumvented 4 rat traps. Ugh. And it's coming. It's not even staying under the shed. I'm like, well, I mean, kind of done and done, right?
Right.
I mean, we succeeded in eliminating it. I mean, it uses our backyard to get from point A to point B, but it is not staying in our yard. Well, that's good. It's fine. And I'm like, I feel like that's good.
Live your best life, just not in my yard.
Yeah. And I said, and we have a rat deterrent, powder, and it works. It worked on this one. This little rat didn't like it.
Okay.
The big one didn't care.
Right.
And so, but this one's like, I know what that trap is. I watched my friend die. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, let's just stop and just do the deterrent and let it live its life. Because I'm with you. I'm not a fan of killing things.
I really don't like to kill anything.
You know,
but I lied. There's one thing that I will kill with that exception.
What?
But not outside. Only within my home. Ants.
Stephanie, I'm having such an issue.
Jamie, I was gonna say it's the pandemic. No, it's the rain.
Yeah.
They have flushed out all of the insects that normally burrow, and they are everywhere.
Agree. I peeled an orange the other day and I put it on the counter, and I just, because I was hungry, I'm like, oh, I need to eat something. So I peeled an orange, I put it on the counter, and that day for whatever. What?
There was an ant or a pile of them.
Well, we left. We're like, oh, we have to go do whatever. And so we left, and Malia came over to get some things, and she's like, there's an orange on the counter and it looks black because there's so many ants. And I was like, please throw it away. Now I would have put it in the disposal.
Well,
she didn't. She put it in the garbage can, which did not really alleviate the situation.
No, because they're still alive.
And they're going to crawl out.
Yes. So I will that has happened. There will be a drop of Pepsi, a literal drop. And there will be 35,000 ants on this drop of Pepsi. And I'm like,
I told Daryl, I'm like, we have to get under the house and we have to spray everything.
Yeah, but everything is so wet and muddy. Nothing. You can't do anything right now. You're literally trapped. I mean, I feel so sorry for my dogs because
I know
they can't. I mean, they do go outside, but then they come in and their paws are muddy and wet, and everybody's yelling at them, "Get down!" No!
They're like, we don't understand.
Don't jump on me. They're like, well, I have to go outside to go to the bathroom. What do you want from me? And I'm like,
I'm trying my best.
There's nothing to do.
Yeah,
it's
it is
just
what it is.
wet.
Oh God, our front room is where we relegate the animals when they come in. First of all, Bodega is so traumatized, he will not come in anymore.
Aww.
He's like, I know you're just going to make me stay in here. And
you're going to trap me, no.
So it looks like a homeless encampment in our backyard. We have created tents and coverings for this old ass dog to not get wet. And he takes advantage of them, but
he doesn't, your dogs, thank God they're husky, so they're warm. They're not cold.
He's never cold.
Yeah.
He's like, I would rather die than be in that house.
Right.
One more minute.
I get it.
I totally get it.
I wish my dogs were like that, but they're exactly the opposite.
Oh my God.
Kevin will stick his paw and be like, well, it's sprinkling.
It's like, you expect me? It's damp out there.
Yeah. He's like,
I don't think so. We,
so
freaking AT&T, and when you've driven in, you saw the flags everywhere, right?
Right. And in the weeks prior to today, there have been markers everywhere.
They have been planning to lay fiber optic cable in this neighborhood for almost a year. And it is a nightmare because they're not very good at telling us when things are going to happen. So we'll just wake up and hear jackhammering. And I'm like, well, I wonder if today's the day where we're trapped in our home because they are digging literal trenches.
Yes.
And it's going to go right across our driveway, which means we're stuck here for the whole, whatever.
Until they fill it in. Yeah.
Yes. So Daryl's on a call. I just got off the phone with the vet dealing with something for Bodega and and I'm like, okay. So I went to the bathroom, I peed, and I went to wash my hands, and nothing came out.
Oh God.
And I'm like,
you immediately knew, right?
Well, Daryl was on this really important call and I couldn't get his attention. So I was doing a bunch of other things. I went outside like all old people do, and I looked and I was like, what the fuck? And I see them, and they're across our lane. And there's a bunch of them. And I'm like, okay, so maybe they turned it off to work.
Right. Was there any other neighbors out? That's usually a telltale sign.
And if they'd shut our water off because we didn't pay the bill, we would have had a big pink piece of paper on our door.
In fact, they don't turn water off, yeah.
So I go inside and Daryl, and I go, we don't have any water. And he's like, what? I go, we don't have any water. And here's the thing that annoys me more than anything with Daryl. He does believe me, but he doesn't believe me. So he gets up. So he gets up. And I was like, oh, do you think I'm lying? And he goes, no, why? I go, well, you going to go check to see if the water's on? You got to turn it on yourself because you don't believe me? He's like, no, that's not what I was going to do. I'm going outside. And I'm like, fine. So he changes his course and goes outside because I know that fool was going to go.
Of course he was. He's like, well, maybe just the one sink you tried. It's a guy thing. Jerry never believes me anything that I say the first time. He has to do it on his own.
I completely blame the patriarchy on that. Anyway, so he goes outside in his work slippers. And he goes outside. He's missing for a moment, like for a minute, actually. He comes back in. I go, what's going on? He goes, oh, they hit a water main. I'm like, excuse me? He goes,
now this is turning into like a long-term thing.
They hit the water main and they're fixing it now, though. He goes, but there's water everywhere. And I'm like, oh, man.
Shit.
Well, a lot of water. The entire court was flooding.
I'm sure.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so I went in the backyard yesterday because our dogs were freaking out. And I'm like, what the hell? And it's because there was a river running through our yard.
Oh, wow.
And the neighbors behind us, or to, where we share a fence, they actually sustained legitimate water damage in their house.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I had no idea. So not only did we not have water for 8 hours, and you know what's funny? When you don't have water, suddenly all you want to do is drink water and pee.
Well, you just don't realize how much you use it until you don't have it.
And I was
that happened to me at my old house. We literally went to a hotel. It was like 4 hours later. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot. Like, where the hell is Holiday Inn?
I swear to God. I was like, all I want to do, I'm like, suddenly I'm parched and I only want water and I have to urinate.
You have all kinds of water. Well, the peeing thing, yeah.
And the thing is Daryl goes, man, so I had peed and flushed the toilet and I thought it sounded weird, but it didn't really register until I washed my hands. And then Daryl, not thinking, peed in that same toilet. And he comes out, he goes, man, I should have used a different toilet. And I'm like, why? What did you do?
Well, because now it's just pee in the toilet.
Well, it's pee. And I'm like, just pee though, right? Like, because now I'm like, do I feel bowels? Because I'm like,
no,
please,
it's like
I'll hold it. I will not.
Or I'm going to take 25 crystal geysers and dump it down the toilet.
I'll do anything.
I've done
to avoid that. Yeah, so the water ultimately got turned back on, but I was like, Jesus Christ, I had no idea the damage though. And then when you drive in, you see how brown the court is, all water. And the street sweeper came and cleaned it and it didn't do anything.
Those things don't work.
They don't do anything.
And they don't. First of all, how can you clean anything in like 0.5 seconds?
Nothing.
You're like,
what are you doing?
Gone. You're like, okay. All they did was smear it around. It's like it
thanks for smearing the poo on glass. It's like trying to wipe poop off glass with like a wet wipe. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so we're totally into the homesteading show again. With the
Rainies. The one you've told me about. In fact, I think I must be going through its thing because it was on like a marathon the other day.
Yeah. So there was one we watched last night, and it was this very young
Homestead
couple.
Rescue, isn't that what
Homestead
it's called?
Rescue? Yes. And there's this very young couple, and they live in the wilds of Washington. God. They're in this little valley. And it's so interesting when these people go, we need to get out of it. We need to get away from it all. We need to live. We need to be able to sustain ourselves with our own food and our own protein. And we just want to live off the grid.
Never works for anybody. Not forever.
No. I mean,
look at the guy that killed himself in Alaska, the guy that they found him in the bus dead.
Oh yeah. Marty Rainey, who
into the wild.
They live in Alaska. The man has been doing this since like the 70s. Mm-hmm. And he, who is probably a master at homesteading, they're making a living helping others.
Right.
Burned his house down a few years ago.
It happens.
That is homestead. That means, this is a very difficult life choice. Ugh. So this couple used to live in Anaheim.
Oh God.
They are from Orange County. She has health issues. They're very young. They're in their early 20s, mid 20s, and they want to start a family. And I'm like, every time I hear that, I'm like, you want to have children?
You are horrible people
in this place.
God.
Like, what? And look, everybody can live the way you want to live, like Little House on the Prairie. By all means.
But do it alone.
But please don't bring children into the mix. Like, what did they ever do to you?
Right?
So anyway, they bought some property, and the A-frame that they bought was completely rotted. Mm-hmm. They didn't know it. Then they pulled up the carpet and they went, oh my God. And it was, they said there were so many flies in their insulation that they had to it was so bad. And then on top of everything else, the thing collapsed on itself.
Oh, lovely.
It looks like an earthquake came and just destroyed it. There's nothing left.
I give up.
So they're living in a 16-foot trailer. And the reason I'm bringing this up is they have an outhouse because the trailer, they don't have plumbing. So they can't really poop in the trailer.
Yeah.
So they built an outhouse. It's very functional. But the porta potty looks like a child's training toilet. It's very small.
Gross.
And he's like, what do you do with the waste? And she's like, well,
when the ground.
When it gets full, they take it and they empty it for mulch. They empty it into a small septic barrel in the back of the truck, and then they drive it into town.
Oh God.
They drive it into town.
No.
And they empty it.
Are you kidding?
And I turned to Daryl and I said, in a billion years. In a billion years.
Which is why I think it's so funny that you like these shows. You're the one that's got me to watch Alone and everything. And I'm like, you would never do this.
Never.
Ever.
That's why I like watching it.
Which
Because
is
it's not
why
something I would ever do.
Ever.
And I said, first of all, and they make a joke out of it. She's like, well, you know what they say, if you can handle each other's crap, you know it's love.
Oh, that's funny.
And Marty, he's like, what? He's like, that's not funny. He's like, when I see, this is what he said. And okay, I love the old school thinking. I really do. And especially since I'm such a princess. He goes, when I see a lady of the house and she has to deal with this, it becomes the number one priority. This woman needs a toilet that flushes.
Thank you.
And so he literally brought an architect out and he gave them a septic system and he created plumbing and they have a toilet that flushes.
Thank you. Because
of her.
Thank you.
And I'm like, thank you, sir.
I mean, you don't have, yes. Okay.
And it would break up my marriage if my husband said, hey, listen, we just got to dump the shit every, 4 days. I'm like, the idea, the audacity of you to think that I will pick up this toilet and put it, and they can't flush toilet paper, so they have a garbage can where they put their used toilet paper. God. And he's like, Marty Rainey was all, this is unsanitary. I'm like, to start, yes, there's so much more that's bad and wrong. Stop it.
Oh my God. No.
I just told Daryl, I'm like, no. Immediately no. I'm like, that life is not for me. Which
is why you like watching it on television.
Yeah, because I can't. What's amazing is what people will put up with to try to make it work. Like they're so determined.
I don't understand why you want to live off the grid, though.
I've seen in the beginning of the show, it was a lot of veterans who had trauma.
Yeah.
And they just can't deal with the day-to-day rat race. And so that I understand.
I do too.
But the problem is that if you don't have the skills to safely sustain yourself, I mean, these people were living in death traps. I've seen people hook up 40 batteries to get electricity. Power. It's like they don't want to give up the they don't want to give up the
basic creature comforts,
comforts of life, but they don't want to live in
modern day
right. And I'm like, well, you kind of can't have it all. No. I think you kind of have to just decide. Luckily, solar paneling is a very easy thing now, but it's like watching this, I'm like, I'm not built for that. No. And Malia, she's like, yeah, so I'm never going camping again unless it's in a trailer. And I'm like, she goes, it's just the way to go. Never a tent again. And I go, if your father forced me at gunpoint to go camping one more time, yeah, I guess I would do a trailer, but I'd much rather be at the Ritz.
Oh my God.
She goes, well, obviously. And I'm like, no, you're agreeing that you will do it again in a trailer.
Yeah. Well, she's young.
You know what? You're right.
When you're young, nothing is that bad.
Nothing's terrible.
No, everything's an adventure, and anything that you do on your own that you have once done with your parents.
You're right.
Is so satisfying.
Sure.
Like it's just very freeing.
That's fine.
It is. Being in your 20s is what that is all about.
I love it.
It was so fun, right?
I love that journey for her.
For her, yeah, she's not shedding trauma. She's just, you know what I mean? Like we were trying things that we weren't allowed to do or we were told was bad, and so that was it.
But like, this isn't so scary.
No, it's actually quite fun.
I still won't watch The Exorcist, but other than that,
I haven't watched it either. I'm good.
I'll try anything once.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, I do have some ugly and awkward moments.
Okay, good.
April Fool's edition. I think they're very funny. Oh, and this reminded me of one that we did do to each other as well. So I'm going to read it. Ugly and awkward moments. First one. I taped the water sprayer in the kitchen sink to the spray position. My mom, who has a back problem, sprayed herself, jumped violently, and re-injured her back, and she needed surgery.
Oh.
But I do remember doing that where we tried to put something on the kitchen faucet so that it would squirt.
Right.
I'm sure we did it.
I'm pretty sure we did it.
Yeah.
I have a vague memory of that.
I feel like we did it to our stepmom though, not our mom.
I hope so. If I could go back in time, that would be the one thing that I would do over.
Torture her more?
Way more.
I know. We gave her
way more.
She got a pass, man. We never did anything. Yeah, she
really did. I would have done so many more horrible things.
And you know why? Because Dad laughed.
Dad didn't give a shit. Dad laughed. Is diabolical.
Evil.
Yeah. Absolutely, and so he wouldn't have. I mean, that's the thing about Dad, though, is you could never trust that he was going to blow something off and think it was funny, or if he was going to flip the fuck out and beat the shit out of you. So
it was
like,
a gamble.
It was a gamble.
So you had to, we were like, is it worth the risk?
Is it worth it?
Most of the time it would have been, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I wish we had our brains now that we had then, because I would have listened to you a lot more. I would have been like, she knows Dad better than me, and she would know that he's not really going to get mad, so let's do it.
This is the one that we can get away with.
Like we could have got away with a lot of shit.
We really could have.
We were so afraid.
I know. Oh, well. Here's the second one. A few years ago on April 1st, I told all my friends that I had started to go to AA. They all congratulated me.
Oh, shit.
You're like, wait. April
Do I need AA? I guess so.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I have my one friend. I guess I didn't realize that my anxiety is so obvious.
Oh yeah,
but it is. So yeah, I just don't talk about it because I'm like, I don't want to hear her epiphanies about, oh yeah, what, you didn't know about it yourself? And I'm like,
you know what? Whatever. My depression and anxiety are through the roof this weekend. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Mine were a couple weeks ago.
I don't understand it. I believe that it has something to do with all the changes going on in the house.
For sure.
Yesterday, we went out to lunch, because we never go out to lunch. So we went out to lunch. I didn't think it was that great. Oh my God. By the way. So I was going to
Carmelita's.
We went to Lido Cafe.
Okay. I love
it. It's like the Poor Mary's Sam's.
I love it.
So we went there and it was slammed. Everybody was out. All the senior citizens were out.
Yesterday was a holiday for those of you who don't.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
But
I had the day off.
So we were sat next to a younger couple who were sitting next to each other.
God.
Which I hate more than anything in the world.
Please.
Why? I mean,
because they rolled out of bed after screwing all morning and like, let's go get some food.
If you're in a group setting, I understand sitting next to each other. Like when Daryl and I, we went out with some friends like a month or so ago, and all the couples sat next to each other. Yeah. Now Daryl and I are like, all right, fine. Do
it just because everybody else is. Yeah, it'd be weird.
Not our fave, but it's like because I like to see him and whatever. But it was fine. But when you're just one-on-one, do not sit next to me.
Yeah,
honestly.
Seriously.
So they were sitting next to each other. It was like 1:00 in the afternoon, and they were eating breakfast, and they decided to share a milkshake with 2 straws. You know how much spit is in those
Jamie,
straws?
it's like 50% spit.
It's disgusting. And I'm like, okay, so a vanilla milkshake.
My husband, he does not have a problem with things like this.
Of all the things, that's the thing he doesn't have a problem with?
He doesn't have a problem with drinking out of each other's thing, anything. And he finds it offensive that I am so repulsed by it.
Get over it.
Because he's like, God.
It's mouth oil. I'm not dealing with your mouth oil.
He's just so like, I disgust you that bad that you can't. I'm like, you just don't.
It has nothing to do with you.
You don't know me at all.
It's about the spit.
After 26 years.
So I'm sitting there. So Daryl and I sit, and of course we're giving each other the judgmental eye. And we're just like, because here's the thing. They're not so young that you go, oh, this is their first boyfriend.
18, 19,
No. They're like in their early, maybe 30.
Ew.
They're like 28 to 30
old
years
enough
old.
to have like
old enough
cavities and
to
bad
have some
breath.
sense. Now, you are probably right that they were screwing and decided to go to Lido Cafe. And they were eating like they'd never had a meal in their life. I mean, they were just like, they ordered a second milkshake. And he's like, can we get 2 new straws? And I'm like, I hate these people so much.
Maybe they were both married to other people.
No. These
and they were out of town.
No, if they were, first of all, he needed a shower desperately. She looked pretty greasy
She's
too.
probably like, I like you smelly.
They're both greasy.
Jamie, I can't.
So Daryl, so then the server goes, how's everything? And he goes, the steak's really chewy. And Daryl and I are like,
you just finished drinking an 8-ounce glass of spit.
She's like, oh, because he ordered a steak and eggs, Did
he eat the whole thing and then
he
say it
ate
was chewy?
Everything but the steak? And he's like, well, the steak's pretty chewy. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he's like, I really tried to make it work, but I just really can't. And so she takes it away and then brings him
another steak,
a whole new breakfast. Mm-hmm. And he goes, excuse me, but is this for me?
I'm full.
And she's like, well, yeah. And he goes, well, okay. She's like, well, you weren't satisfied, so we wanted to give you a better meal. And so here you go. And he goes,
I just want my money back.
He goes, well, I'm full. And she's like, oh, okay. He goes, can I get a box or something? And I'm like, if this was my child, I mean, the thing is that I'm like, these people exist. These are the reason why surfers hate their job.
God, so
not only are you sitting next to each other and like their asses were touching, they're so close. Like they're so close to each other.
Out of the same milkshake. That's all I need to know.
2 milkshakes, and they completed them.
Gross.
And then they sat there for a minute. I'm like, get out, get out. I was like, get out. I just could not. I was so distracted because I can't with people. And Daryl's laughing because he knows how ridiculous they are.
He thinks they're ridiculous, but he's also laughing at you.
Yeah, because he can see me wanting,
you're literally writhing in pain.
I just want to rip my skin off. I can't with these people. And I'm like, someone needs to tell them that this isn't the way we live. Like we don't, this is not how normal humans are. You don't act like this in public. What are you doing?
Have you been in a max prison for the last 10 years?
Do you sit next to each other at home when you're eating? No, you sit across from each other, or you sit on the couch, or whatever you do.
I'd love to hear other people's opinions about this. Like, are we alone on this issue?
No.
I wonder though, because
Stephanie, I can't. You know what? Fine. The cheese stands alone.
I'm okay with that too.
I don't want to sit. When Daryl and I, you know what? And maybe
Jerry
we
would
are.
probably want to sit next to me. He's like, I just never would because I know you wouldn't. But
you know what's so funny is I believe when we first started seeing each other, like seriously, we were actually like regularly. Oh God, no! But he would. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, what I thought. I'm like, no.
They're like puppies. They just want to be on you all the time.
I do remember vividly saying, I don't want to sit next to you. I want to sit across from you so I can see you and we can talk.
Not doing this the whole time. Yeah.
And hitting elbows when you're eating.
No,
all the things. I'm like, no. That's
plus
far
then I can hear your chomping in my ear.
When I would sit with my children at a place, they sat a kitty corner to me.
Right.
Not even next to me. I hated that more than anything. And to this day, when we go out with kids, they sit across from me. They don't sit next to me. And if they do, they're like, what? You're like, I know this is because
they don't have a choice.
Well, they can't see me. It's like I've just ingrained it. You know what? I've raised a better generation.
Yes, you did.
So anyway, I'm like, well, no. I mean, and I just remember, I'm like, when you're in a booth, do you sit next to each other? That's
never.
So fucking weird.
Never.
Please don't do that.
Never.
When I see that, I'm like, disgusting. I mean, even on my honeymoon, I wouldn't do that.
Never.
I don't care how much I'm obsessed with a person. Never.
I mean, it's sad to me to admit that I used to actually be obsessed with my husband. I was.
Why are you sad? There's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's just weird to think about it now. Yeah. In a new relationship, everything is just so
there. You can do no wrong. I love everything.
Nothing. Yeah. So
you want to burst that bubble? Sit next to them in a restaurant.
So I'm trying to imagine if I ever was that crazy that I wanted to sit next to him in a restaurant. I don't recall that happening.
Stephanie, in a million years,
I'm pretty sure no.
So when they finally left, I mean, the instant they left, I turned to Darryl. I'm like, oh my God, I hated them so much. He goes, yes, I know. They were not, they weren't easy. And I go, and they were not very respectful to the server.
Yeah.
Which is, for me, immediately.
Kiss of death. Yeah.
I'm like, do all those gross things you're doing, but be even remotely annoying. And
then on top of it.
So we were like extra nice. And then I'm like,
we hate you.
And then of course, they didn't bring me my fries. And I'm like, please don't make me be that gross guy.
Because I'm not going to be the one now where I hate you too.
And I was like, hey, didn't I order fries? I said it like that. They're like, oh my God, you did. 1 second. And I'm like, okay.
That's good. That was a good way to
Yeah, because I just didn't want to be like, this French dip is kind of chewy.
No, and even if it was,
I would have put it in my gullet and shut the fuck up like a normal person.
I just don't order things in certain places that I know could potentially be any of those
That's
things.
exactly what Darryl said. He goes, well, what the fuck did he think he was going to get at 2:00 in the afternoon when he ordered steak
at
and
a
eggs?
cafe? Yeah.
And by the way, they stopped serving breakfast at 2, so he got in right under the wire.
I mean, my point is like, I don't order, if I'm going to order a steak anywhere, it's going to be at a fucking steakhouse.
At Morton's.
I'm not going to order steak and eggs at a cafe.
Or Cattleman's.
You know what you're going to get? It's a top sirloin.
Yes, exactly.
The cheapest steak you can, and they're usually like a 1/4 of an inch thin.
It was so thin. So thin. Oh, but he was able to get it all in there, boy. Oh, yes.
I hate him.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, okay. Well, I think that's the show. Thank you for listening. And we will be back with another show next week. Bye.